All right. Welcome to another edition of Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting. I'm DJ Impact. I got the Vegas Bad Boys here, and welcome to Three Count. We got three good topics for you that we pulled off the internets, and we're going to discuss. If you're watching us live, feel free to jump in, throw your comments in, and we'll try to post them as we see fit. If you're just downloading and listening, thank you for downloading. Hopefully, you enjoy as well. And we do offer you to join us sometimes every Sunday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I know, and for this, in this case of Three Count, it's 9 p.m., which is like midnight in the East Coast. But if you're rocking with us, we definitely appreciate it. Thank you much. All right, so let's get right into our Three Count topics. Let's go. It's time. Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting present
One, two, three.
Count Talk.
Count Talk, baby.
All right, so let's get to our first one
One.
from WrestlingInc.com, titled Eric Bischoff on the impact Cody Rhodes leaving AEW will have on the company. It reads like this. Cody Rhodes became the first all-elite star to jump from AEW to WWE last weekend when he made his shocking return at WrestleMania 38 to defeat Seth Rollins. WWE Hall of Famer Eric Bischoff spoke about Cody's Rhodes' return to WWE on the latest episode of the Strictly Business exclusive podcast on adfreeshows.com, where he revealed that he spoke to Cody and told him his dad, Dusty Rhodes, will be proud. Bischoff also spoke about what this means for AEW talent looking to jump the ship to WWE just like Cody did. Quote, we don't know, do we? End quote, Bischoff said. Quote, I certainly don't know. I don't know how many other talents currently in AEW, how many of them are actually looking at the end of their contract and saying, I'm going to see if this works out well for me, just like it did for Cody. I know nothing about AEW. I'm a fan of MJF. I heard his contract is up sometime in 2024. That's a bit down the road. I don't know if there's anybody else coming up before that, but it's an opportunity. That's all it is. The one thing I think that's interesting is that I like to know what the morale is really like. Not when Tony's around, not when everybody else is around, but when these guys are by themselves. Now that the newness has worn off of AEW, it's 3 years old and has a track record now. They've hit some really great highs for a new company, some amazing things they've done early on. Quote, no question, but here's what happened and here's what I've seen happen around me. You know what happens when you start making more money and when you left your previous employer. You get really used to that shit. You begin to take that for granted and it's no longer new anymore. And you're no longer feeling it the way you used to. After a certain amount of time, you get used to it and talent gets used to the money real quick. And then it's about performance, emotion, and ego. You've got a lot of talent that come into AEW over the last couple of years. Some of them making significantly more than they have ever made in the wrestling business on a guaranteed basis. That's cool, and you appreciate that. Once the newness wears off and you get used to that, what do you want? You want to showcase. You want to perform. That's why you become a professional wrestler in the first place. Athletes don't want to sit on the bench and collect. They want to play. And that's the end of the quote. And after Cody Rhodes made his WWE return, Eric Bischoff called the moment, quote, magic, end quote, revealing how excited he was for all involved in the situation. The WWE Hall of Famer continued to talk about the impact this move has had on AEW, mentioning how we could see a shift in morale within the company eternally. Quote, not if you've got a very crowded roster and some very talented people, which is a credit to Tony Khan and AEW, but you can only showcase some of them, Eric Bischoff said. Now that you're used to the money, they're going to be looking for another opportunity, just like Cody Rhodes was looking for when he left WWE the first time. You're going to see a shift in morale. We're going to hear about it because nobody wants to burn a bridge and see the paycheck go away. The world's in a different place now than it used to be, but internally, I have to imagine there's any number of talents there that are questioning what their future is going to look like in the next 12, 18, 24 months. All right. City Steve, man, this was your article, and what was your take?
So I think that the thing that really we should take note of is that, quite frankly, this is a watershed moment. Cody was the first person to jump from AEW to WWE, and he was a former founder of the company and an executive vice president. So it would be different than, let's say, Marco Stunt going to WWE. So it's one of those things, and that's not meant to be a slight on Marco. But realistically speaking, I mean, when you have somebody with the gravitas that Cody has, this really, really, really should open some eyes over in Jacksonville as to, hey, why did he really leave? Now, maybe they knew, maybe they were well aware, or maybe they had planned for it. But I think that, there's got to be more than meets the eye to this thing. For Cody to say that, he wanted to win the world championship and that's why he left, I get that. What I had mentioned on the show is, why did he agree to the stipulation in the first place in AEW that he could never challenge for that AEW championship? And of course, the AEW championship and WWE championship are not on the same level, and I get that. But it's very interesting that he chose to agree to a match stipulation that he would never be able to hold that championship. And according to what he's saying, that is the number one reason for his exodus. Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting. And something that I think that we really should keep in mind is, if nothing else, this will allow for there to be more of a free-flowing ability for some of these guys and ladies to, work in one promotion and then contracts up. Hey, now I'm going to go over here to this other promotion. I think that this is just kind of ushering in that kind of a thing, and it definitely, competition is always a very, very good thing in any facet of business. So I'm really interested to see what happens with both WWE and AEW. Which company is going to adapt to the new era of free agency? Let's call it what it is, because it's here. So it's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting that Guy mentioned in the article. Oh no, it was actually Eric Bischoff mentioned in the article about MJ's contract, because I have always said that if I was WWE, that's out of everybody on the roster, that's who I would be looking at. I know Michaels had challenged me and said no, it would be Wardlow. And I actually can see where he's coming from as well. Let me jump over to you, Michaels. Is there really an equivalent for anybody in AEW to think they have a chance to do what Cody has done? I mean, Cody has had some history. His family is pretty much built within WWE. The chances of him coming back was always I would like to think of it was inevitable. He was going to be back. I don't know if everyone over in AEW should have that same outlook. What's your take on this whole thing?
Well, they won't. I mean, they're every so one of the things that we're seeing now from WWE is that everyone is being judged on a who you are basis, right? They've canned so many people that the people that they're signing, if they're not, on a level that's going to be at least a high mid card, that they probably won't even bring them in. So, yeah. And it, like I was talking to you, DJ, the other day about, I think what this really does is it makes the AEW roster pay close attention to what the WWE does for Cody Rhodes within the next year or 2 years, depending on the contracts, that they have coming up. Because if they see that he's getting the opportunity, he's getting the push, he's getting good situations, he's got, if they're still able to do, let's say, a reality show, or if they're able to do a game show or whatever it is, those people are going to be watching that closely to know that, hey, he went back over there and they didn't make him Stardust, right? So
Right.
that's what I think they're going to be really be looking at. Also, I think Tony Khan is going to have to make a lot of decisions of what the hell he's actually doing. Meaning, ROH right now, what is it? We don't know. As far as we know, Samoa Joe debuts at ROH, and apparently they're going to put him in a feud with Jay Lethal, but at the same time, he's in the Owen Hart Classic. So are we just going to be seeing essentially ROH matches on AEW TV? Because ROH doesn't have a TV deal, I don't think, right now for the new product. Because that
Tony, not to interject, Tony has actually mentioned that he has spoken to Warner Media about getting them a slot.
Yeah, so it's going to have to be something that they create in terms of that. So you're not just getting their television slot from Sinclair. So you're going to see most likely ROH matches on AEW, which is going to take away then from some of those AEW people getting it. It's going to be confusing. It's going to be tough. And if certain people feel they get slighted and they can get a good deal from WWE, then they'll probably go. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Sure. All right. Simon Street, what's your take, man? You got Cody now has made his debut, and it looked like it was pretty successful. And according to Bischoff, a lot of people over AEW is going to be watching to see how this all plays out, and they're going to start thinking about what chances they may have. Is this a good thought process for them?
100% it's a good thought process. I do also want to go back to what I know I was pretty vocal about when AEW first started. I think also too, Sensei Steve maybe said something to this when it first started as well. AEW, I think as a brand and as a business, we're looking to cut into the game, not to be competition for the person who holds the placeholder as WWE. And I think this is the reason why. Giving an opportunity for talent who may no longer be in a WWE contract, whatever the case may be, have some place they can go that isn't what before AEW was, you go overseas, go New Japan Pro for a little while if you had connections with that and it can work for you. Impact Wrestling, obviously, and at the time, ROH, right? People, a lot of talent probably want a little bit more than that, and there's no slight against those other promotions I listed. AEW has offered that. And 120%, this is what AEW should have been, despite a lot of fans and a lot of media trying to push a war. They're perfect for this. This should be their bread and butter. Tony Khan probably should provide a different structure, but leaning more towards what I just said. Being a place where you can get grouped, you still have a spotlight on you that's big enough, bigger than the promotions I've mentioned earlier. And so that in hopes that WWE, when they're looking for somebody, you can come back. Now, I believe it was one of you gentlemen had said that, it's not going to be the same for everybody as Cody Rhodes. Obviously, Cody Rhodes is a way bigger draw. Obviously, WWE sees him, and there's like so many different things they can do with him. But that's not to say that other talents coming up, since it was mentioned earlier, MJF, Wardlow, kind of seeing what's the, let's say, if you go over, if you're Wardlow and MJF and it doesn't quite work out well, right? You don't burn the bridge. You get, future endeavored by WWE. You go back to AEW, gather yourself again and go forth. I will say this, and I'll close this. I find it very interesting that it was Cody Rhodes. And the reason why I say this is because thinking back before AEW opened up, Cody was somebody that I thought was going to be in WWE for a long time. He was a quotably a second generation WWE talent which ordinarily they stick around. They don't go anywhere else most times. It was interesting that he went to New Japan to try and find some success, spent some time, I believe, also too in Impact Wrestling a little bit, to try and recharge himself and reinvigorate himself. There have been other talents that have done the same way. But it's interesting how he built up his own with AEW. I wonder, was it always meant for him to eventually come back to some capacity? I just got to be honest. I feel that I get some things weren't seen eye to eye. There's been reports that he was no longer feeling close with Tony Khan as he once did, and I understand that. But I feel that in a way, maybe in his head, because he's very much a legacy guy, and his father's legacy is very important to him. I wonder sometimes if maybe he was like, if there was an opportunity and the whatever's laid in front of me is correct, I would do it. We won't see, but definitely AEW has to do some repivoting and thinking on what they want to do moving forward. I hope that they hearken what I've said, not that I'm the expert, that this is what AEW should be. An exciting place for you to be that's not WWE. You have a fan base that's diehard for you, and you can still keep relevance. And then if you want to go to WWE or somewhere else, you can. If not, AEW is a pretty good pond to chill in for a while.
Okay. There we go. A lot of people have a lot of take on this Cody situation. I'm sure we will continue to discuss this as he will be making moves on WWE. So we'll move over into our count 2. All right. Our second count comes from itrwrestling.com, which is Inside the Ropes. And this was titled Dave Meltzer WrestleMania 38 ratings revealed. So I'm pretty much just going to go into his rating system here, and we're going to see how all of this come together. I tell you this, I don't see any 5-star matches here, but let's see if this is just good old Dave Meltzer. The Jimmy and Jay Uso, Shinsuke Nakamura, Rick Boogs match got a 1.5-star rating. Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin, 2.75. Logan Paul, The Miz, Ray, and Dominic Mysterio, 3.5. Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch, 4.5. Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins, 4.5. Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey, a 2. And Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kevin Owens got a 3.5. Amazing. RK Bro, Street Profits, Alpha Academy, a 4.25. Oh, and poor Bobby Lashley and Omos, they got a 0.5-star rating. Okay, let me say that one for last. Sasha Banks, Naomi, Carmella, Queen Zelina, Natalia, Shayna, Liz, Morgan, and Rhea Ripley, 2.5 stars. Edge versus AJ Styles, 3.75 stars. Okay. Sheamus and Ridge Holland versus The New Day, 0.25. Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory, 3.75 stars. Vince McMahon versus Pat McAfee, a -2. A -2 stars. Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, 3.25 stars. And by the way, Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville, it has no rating giving at the time of this writing. Matt Michaels, Meltzer have given lots of 5-star matches. For some reason, they never come towards WWE's programming at all. What's your take? This was your article on his rating system for WrestleMania.
Well, his rating system in general is just kind of fucking stupid. But what's interesting is I think Dave must have basically been at Saturday Night Show, and because he is 87 years old, he didn't really catch Sunday show because he was tired. Sure. So he just said, "Oh, fuck it, I'm just gonna, But so a couple things. One, why the fuck do you even give a fucking Vince McMahon versus Pat McAfee was not a fucking match.
Right.
It's simple.
It was officially sanctioned.
Oh,
yeah.
no,
It was officially sanctioned. Like Dave Meltzer is a journalist. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So
easy.
That you can just throw out that's ridiculous. Reigns and Lesnar 3.25. Okay, that's fair. McAfee theory probably should have been around the same. Maybe both of those about 3.5. Edge and AJ, same thing, somewhere around there, 3.5 ish. But it's very interesting that you had the Rousey Flair match with only 2, where you gave Stone Cold versus Kevin Owens 3.5. And in all realistic terms, that wasn't even, again, really a match. It was a brawl. So I think Rousey and Flair kind of got, shaded there. 1.5 for a match in which Root Boogs couldn't even participate after the first 5 minutes. That's kind of stupid. Put a caveat on that because Nakamura did that match by himself, essentially. It was a 2-on-1. So I would give it a little higher. And then McIntyre and Corbin, 2.75. I think you'd probably go a little bit higher on that. The Miz, Dominic Mysterio at 3.5. Yeah, he'd probably go around there. But you have to think that Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch and Rhodes and Rollins, 4.5, I'd say to venture on even close to 4.75. Both those matches were exactly what they should have been story-wise. And both those matches got the crowd into it. The crowd was engaged. So I don't know. It's just fun. But the biggest thing is really no fucking rating for Sami Zayn. That's absurd. That's absurd because feel what you want about the Jackass crew. And by the way, they actually kind of held their own for what it was, which was fine. But Sami Zayn, my God, he did everything in that match. He gave everything to them. And that shows that you put your ego aside. Fucking recognize that, dude. Don't just be a fucking old, grumpy fucking, sports writer from the 1930s, because I think he started reviewing around 1937. So Danny Hodge was his favorite wrestler when he was already 33.
Damn. Oh man. Well, good points there. All right, let me go over to you then. Simon Street, what is your take on Dave Meltzer's ratings of Mania, especially if you're familiar with how he rates other programming such as AEW or even New Japan? It's definitely a lot different. It's a different scale apparently he uses. What's your take? You agree with this or what?
Well, as usual, when things are pertaining to false prophet, Dave Meltzer, it's full of shit. The one thing that I really want to really hearken on this really hard is when you portray yourself as a journalist, you need to have a little bit of integrity. Part of that integrity, and this is me speaking to you as another professional, okay? So I'm cutting the bullshit. It's clear to see who you like. But if you're a professional journalist, it's not about who you like, it's what you report. And I've noticed a lot of the times that Mr. Meltzer is always leaning extra hard towards who he likes. I get you don't like WWE, but you could have provided a lot more context as to why your scores are the way they are versus just sticking it out there. I think at this point, it's safe to say that maybe Meltzer needs to retire and give the reins to somebody else who's willing to give proper credence to the art form that is journalism. Not about who you like, but what you report. So, but that's just how I personally feel about him. But as far as answering your questions, it's his opinion. I get it. A lot of it's unfound. I agree 100% with Matt Michaels and how he broke down each one of the things he said. And that's all I'll say to this. Sorry, Mr. Dave Meltzer, but you're almost non-relevant.
Let me ask you, Sin City, what is your for Mania tag match? What would you say was your favorite tag match for Mania?
My favorite tag match from Mania was the three-way, the RK Bros, Street Profits, and Alpha Academy.
What would you rate that if you had to have a 5-star rating? What would
I would say between 4.25 and 4.5. I think that his rating for that match was spot on. There are a couple of matches where there are some discrepancies, but largely, yeah, I agree with the ratings.
And what would you put between on this past week's Dynamite, FTR versus the Young Bucks? What would your rating be on that match?
I would say that match is probably right around 4.25 to 4.5.
Okay. Because Meltzer made that a 4.75. It's only a right before it gets to 5 stars. You pretty much can round it off to 5. And I watched that match, and I'm not going to sit and say it was a shitty match, but it definitely wasn't on top 5, and not even a 4.7. I wouldn't even put it at a 4.5. I'm sorry. I'll give it a 4, but I won't give it a 4. I won't even a 4.5.
I think
close to a 5.
I think the most important thing to consider with all of these star ratings is that they are completely subjective. And, that's something that, everybody loves to rip on Meltzer, or, insert journalist here. Realistically speaking, I mean, everything's subjective. Everything's subjective.
Yeah.
You could rate a match that I hated. You could rate it 5 stars because you enjoyed it, and vice versa.
I think part of the problem, though, is that people, I don't know how many subscribers he's at. I was going to say millions, but it may be thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. I don't know, but they may really take his word for that and really do believe that, yes, I'm in total agreement with what Meltzer is saying. And then if they are in that, they're not being subjective. They're now, taken as what he's saying as the gospel.
Doesn't everybody do that to some extent? We all get programmed. We all get programmed with what we allow to program us. Whether it's news, whether it's wrestling journalists, whether it's podcasting, whatever it is. Realistically, the thing is, we're going to identify with people that at least share some of our beliefs, and then we're going to latch onto those people. And the more that they say that aligns with what we're thinking, people love to be reaffirmed.
Yeah, but what DJ is saying essentially, which is the thought I was having, DJ, and that is he's been around for so long that you've positioned yourself in almost a lie where he's established himself by his own merits as this person who is an insider. And once he did that, and once people, were subscribing, and now the internet's getting bigger, he had a platform now to then basically gear it towards what he likes and then get people just to believe that. So basically, Steve, what I'm trying to say is that you take away the free will of thinking in that, because, oh my God, well, it came from Dave Meltzer, so let's look at those rankings. Oh yeah, absolutely. That match was shit.
I agree. He needs to be challenged or he needs to leave. As simple as that.
So ultimately, I think that the thing is, you're always going to have a contingency of people that will, parrot what he's saying. because of what he's established himself with. Likewise with, with other journalists. And I think that that's something to keep in mind. The match ratings that I would, definitely say there's a discrepancy on. I thought Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey was at least a 3-star match. I don't think that it stole the show by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, I mean, to rate that match at a 2, I thought that it was, I'd say a little bit better than the Drew McIntyre Happy Corbin match. But yeah, I mean, that kind of thing. And then, the Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar match for the main event. I absolutely hate the main event WWE style when both guys fire out of the gate and just hit finisher after finisher after finisher after finisher. If you're going to have a segment in the match where you hit finish after finish after finish, work up to it, but don't just come right out of the gate. And that seems to be the latest thing with the WWE main event style. We saw it when Drew McIntyre was champion. How many Claymore kicks did he launch at people? I mean, it's one of those things. And of course, Suplex City. That's something to keep in mind too. I don't know.
So I guess this would be, and DJ, this might be your follow-up question, because I think we're kind of in headspace. Simon, you might even agree on this. So what does Dave Meltzer give that match if it's the main event of AEW?
I can't speak to that because I'm not Dave Meltzer. But I see what you're going for. I see what you're going for. And again, I'm replying that his star ratings are subjective, just like how what you like is subjective.
But there's a difference. We don't actually take ourselves as merely as serious as Dave Meltzer does, and we don't self-promote ourselves as
right
experts.
because we're not. Okay, Simon, you use the word professional. Okay, that means somebody that gets paid to do a job. Okay, so Dave Meltzer is a professional journalist. People pay him for his opinion, no matter how much or how little other people agree with it or disagree with it. He is a professional journalist. Unfortunately, at this point in time, we're not.
But you
well,
also
I know we're not.
Wait, hold on. But you just said he's a professional journalist. He gets paid for his opinions.
Correct.
That's not journalism. That's opinions.
And the only reason why
piece on paper, not a story.
And the only reason why I'm hard on Meltzer is because at the end of the day, he's garnered a lot of success. So at the end of the day, when you've garnered a lot of success, you should at least start realizing, okay, maybe I need to have a little more integrity, just a little bit. Because at the end of the day, all eyes are on you. There's tons of people that read what Meltzer's saying, and as you stated, they will go ahead and say the same thing. I think that it's time that Meltzer needs to start taking a reflective look back on some of the stuff he says, because for the last 4 years, it's been very tabloid-ish and less professional as what he first started as. He used to be very even across the board when he first started because I used to listen to him. Now I don't listen to him unless I want to be entertained by subjective opinions. That's just my opinion.
And the other thing that's very interesting about his lists is there's no reasoning. Here's his numbers, but give me a reason. Explain to me why you thought that match wasn't, that quality. So, that, at least if you do that, you're giving that opinion. What you're doing is you're saying you're a journalist and you're just giving numbers. And now it becomes, well, obviously, if Dave thought that, we should kind of think that too.
Absolutely.
But hey, it's okay. At the end of the day, if this professional, journalist thing don't work out, I'm sure Tony Khan will give him a contract. He'll be fine.
Well, I'm sure that at least 50% of the people on this show think that he is currently getting paid by AEW and Tony Khan, so it doesn't matter.
I cannot confirm or deny if that's to be true.
Exactly. I might as well just say 75% of the people on this show.
But I will say this. Hold on, because I know where you're getting at, Sin City. Here's the thing: it's not about AEW, WWE. when we're talking about Meltzer. It's about being a professional, which you have stated, not you, but him. He has stated publicly that he is a professional journalist. You need to start conducting yourself as a professional journalist and not as somebody that likes a certain brand, because then it makes you not look very professional. Again, he's getting paid. It'd be different. Like with us, we can do what the hell we want. But the minute we start getting paid and we start saying we're professional journalists, we have to upgrade the way we carry ourselves.
Where can we get our journalistic journalism credentials? And then we can start, taking on that.
Listen,
I'm down.
Listen, Chris has got it right. Chris,
Sure
you got it right.
Thank you for saying that.
Basically, if you're a journalist and that means you post pictures of your apartment that you work out of where you have no filing cabinets and it looks like your mom's going to yell at you for having to clean up your room any minute now.
Right.
And I don't know, journalist.
All right, man.
Yeah. We'll leave this one dead because I think we've said enough.
All right, let's go to our third count. All right, and this one is coming from sportskeeda.com. And it is titled, quote, "Who paid for such a wildly expensive thing?" End quote. Becky Lynch mocks Tony Khan in a recent tweet. All right, so this is how it reads here. Former WWE Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch has mocked AEW President Tony Khan following his claim that thousands of anti-AEW Twitter accounts are bots and not real individuals. Khan stated in a series of tweets that he received the information from an independent study, which verified. I'm sorry. Independent study which verified that the accounts are run by an army of employed staff. And this is the quote. An independent study has confirmed that much of the staunch anti-AEW online community aren't real individuals. It's a staff running thousands of accounts plus an army of bots to signal boost them. Look closely. These aren't real people who pay for such a wildly expensive thing. Okay, so Becky Lynch didn't hesitate to jump on the bandwagon as she mocked Tony Khan by sending the same tweet, but with the subject being herself. Quote, "An independent study confirmed that much of the staunch anti-Becky and arena booers aren't real individuals. It's a staff running thousands of AI, an army of bots. Look closely, they aren't real people who pay for such a wildly expensive thing," Becky tweeted. And then I guess Becky called out several potential suspects. Big Time Beck sent out several additional tweets of potential suspects who she think might be behind the anti-Becky arena booers. She included names such as Nikki Bella, Stephanie McMahon, Beth Phoenix, Trish Stratus, and billionaire Elon Musk. Becky and Trish have been going back and forth on social media, leaving the WWE universe interested in seeing a bout between the two stars. And at Elimination Chamber, Lynch collided with Lita in a dream match, and Trish is another WWE Hall of Famer that fans will love to see Big Time Beck's face. All right. Sin City, man. I mean, not Sin City, Simon Street. This was your article. Tell me your thoughts on this.
Well, first and foremost, the reason why I presented this fine article, because it's funny, but it's an indication of what wrestling can be. And I call it the in-between. So first and foremost, shout out to Tony Khan. Brother, I think we found what you're good at. Building up controversy that makes you look good on your show. I'm not saying it to be mean. I'm saying it like, brother, you should be diving all in on this shit. On the next AEW taping show, you should directly, whatever you can do legally to keep this going. Because this right here, upon looking at the article, there were different people that posted on whatever, right? And so it basically kind of showed people's interest on it, how many people had viewed comments. And it was just interesting because this is something that's been going on for about 2 weeks now with these comments that were said, or is it about a week? About a week, same with these things. And I think there was another person that said the same thing. I think it's interesting enough that, if you think about it, this is what wrestling is becoming, y'all. It is more to do about what's happening on social media, and the superstars on whether it's AEW roster or WWE roster that can fill in that void are going to find tons of success. And I know we talk about Tony Khan all the time, and I don't know if he knows he's doing something that might potentially lead to more success for AEW, and particularly him as a character on his show. But this would be the case. Again, shout out to this whole thing with Becky Lynch. This is what Becky Lynch set herself apart with, being able to be the man, is shit like this. She's done similar stuff like this where she's called people out who were no longer on WWE roster. She's currently using social media right now to build up stuff with Trish Stratus. They had Twitter beef 2 weeks prior whenever they did a house show in Toronto, if I'm not mistaken. So again, I really wanted to point this out because I know in past we've talked about Tony Khan, how he doesn't know what he's doing. We don't know if that's the case. I want to see more of this. I want to see more of these conversations on social media between AEW, WWE, or even in between. That's why I wanted to point it out.
Okay.
This is fun.
Sin City. And can one say that the independent study came from Meltzer? I'm just
Well
fucking.
played. Well played. I realistically speaking, I mean, I can't necessarily defend this, man. Like, it is what it is. You're always gonna have a, you know, a toxic portion of any fan base that is gonna do nothing but hate on every single thing that you do and troll it. So that's just life, man. So yeah. When I saw the original tweet come out, I rolled my eyes and I cringed and I gave that deep, emphatic sigh because I fucking knew that we would end up talking about this shit on the show. I just knew it. And I'm like, oh, great. Thanks, Tony. Really appreciate you, making things easy on me. Thanks.
Yeah. Giving us material, you know? All right. Matt Michaels, man, what was your take when you saw this?
Well, first, on Becky's end, no, Becky, it wasn't bots. It's the production truck, and it's recorded booze. We know that. Okay. So at least that's
saying boo earns.
Yeah, boo earns. Boo earns. Listen, you got to give Tony a little bit of slack here, because Tony has recently hired new legal representation, and Giuliani said that the reason that people are hating on AEW is because the bots from the Ukraine have been going and taking over the internet and taking out AEW. So, at some point, Tony Khan this was the fear I had about this company, that all of a sudden it would become about him. And it has. We've seen this excelled within the past few months.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is it takes away from every single wrestler when he does shit like this. So, it's he's his own worst enemy. And by the way, one of the things we don't fucking say enough is, by the way, the Jacksonville fucking Jaguars are the team his family owns. So that should say everything right there about their business sense. The draft's out here in Vegas, so I'm pretty sure Tony's going to have CM Punk come out and announce, the second round picks when they do, day 2, the third round picks or whatever it is. Yeah. I'm sure you're going to see one of the AEW guys announcing one of the Jaguars picks, because
why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm already dreading that draft. I was reading in the paper what all the streets they're planning on closing for the next few days, and I'm
you can't get in there at all. Not at all. And I got to go to Mandalay Bay at least twice a week. And on one of those days, I'm going to be just stuck. I might as well just stay.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Oh, well.
But I will say, Cincinnati Steve, I tried, man. I tried with this article to find the light that Khan could follow. But
there ain't no light, bro. The only light at the end of this tunnel is, in fact, a train coming straight at you.
What did it say? A deer caught headlights.
I don't know. He's probably tripping the light fantastic on what he's probably putting up his.
You said it. Bam, bam.
All right, guys. Well, thanks. That is our 3 counts, and we appreciate everyone for listening and hanging out with us. We do this for you because we like to be entertainment. We're not your news source. We're not your journalists. We are
professional.
entertainment.
We don't get paid for this at all.
That's right. Exactly.
Impact works 3 jobs, and one of them involves taking his clothes off.
Hello.
All right. TMI. So let's get ready to end the show here and give our final thoughts. And you know what? Simon Street, let's let you start that off, man. What you want to tell the people?
Look, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. And, hey, tell a friend, because sometimes, they might find what you find entertaining as well. And so the both of you or a group of you can watch us as well. Thank you for everything, and hope you have a safe week.
Perfect. Sin City Steve.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, doing all the stuff that you guys do so that we can do this show. As Impact said, we do this show for you guys. Thank you for everything that you do. Very special thank you and shout out to all the brave men and women serving this country, whether you're on lands foreign or domestic. Thank you for making that supreme sacrifice in some cases, for doing everything that you do so that we can all do what we love. And we definitely appreciate all you guys. And last but certainly not least, repsports.com, reppsports.com. Go there for all of your pre-workout, weight loss, and general energy needs. Again, that's repsports.com. Use promo code Vegas at checkout and save yourself 15%.
Perfect. And Mr. Matt Michaels, what you got?
Very quick thing, and of course we're recording this on Sunday night, so hopefully we'll hear a little bit more about this. Hopefully it's nothing bad, but Brett Lauderdale posted a response to Game Changer Wrestling's post earlier on Twitter. I guess Bandito, they had a $900 round trip booked for him to San Francisco for GCW's event tonight, and they haven't heard from him. So hopefully everything's okay with him. And if it's just a situation of, him just ditching the flight or whatever, that's not cool, of course, but at the same time, as long as he's safe and healthy, that's great. And congratulations to Alexa Bliss, who is probably going to be headed on her honeymoon, I guess, today. So good for her.
Yeah, I was at work today, and some guy came to me and was like, "You know who sung at her wedding?" And I'm like, "Who?" And I think he said it was Debbie Allen. Is her name? Was that it? Debbie somebody?
Debbie Allen.
I heard that they got in sync to perform.
Oh,
Really?
was it? Okay.
Yeah,
That's pretty awesome.
He was saying sync. He gave me someone I don't know, but ultimately this was somewhat star-studded, So
Well, she married a punk rock singer. So
true. She should have just waited, because isn't that group BTS in town this weekend here in Vegas?
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
and
see?
I tell you what, the traffic was like butter. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, BTS. She just brought her right on stage, man.
Their merch sales are out of control. What blocked off everything on Friday was just people lining up to buy their merch.
Allegiant Stadium sold out 4 nights for their show. What am I missing?
I've been trying to tell y'all, look at Vegas BadBoyz. I say K-pop is going to make a United States hit, and it has already begun with this group. I'm just putting it out there.
Wow.
Go look back because I was talking about K-pop.
Someone
and
just
y'all
put in
looking at
our chat here, Debbie Gibson.
Oh, Debbie Gibson.
No, it was not. So according to E Entertainment News, apparently they didn't list Debbie Gibson, but we got Yellow Card, Bowling for Soup, which Ryan Cabrera is part of, Hot Shelly Ray, We Are the Kings, and like Steve said, In Sync. So now, if Debbie Gibson did perform, I'll be talking to her in a few minutes, so I'll let you guys know next week.
Well, yeah, because literally a guy today at the store was like, yeah, because she's my friend or neighbor or something, and she sung at, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. So shout out if she did.
Well, now you're sounding like Steve Meltzer with these sources that are never included.
I'm not a journalist.
Listen, Debbie Gibson does have a place out here. So
does she really?
It's possible. Yeah,
that's what he said. So yeah,
it's a possibility. But if it didn't come from E Entertainment News, and we know they're respected journalists, so obviously it's not true.
They have to deal with the backlash when their sources aren't correct.
All right, guys. Hey, everyone, thanks for hanging out. We appreciate it, and we will see you next week. All right, take care.